Alright, what's good everybody? It's your boy Akeem and welcome to this vlog. Here to finally wrap things up with all my previews for the 2016 college football season with one last conference and the best conference in college football, the SEC. Now I'm going to start off today with only a couple of blogs, going to go with the SEC East Division, and I'm going to start this blog off with the Florida Gators. Now, last season, this team went 10-4 overall, representing the East Division and making it to the SEC Championship, which they did lose to the eventual champs, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, they actually had a great season, mainly due to the defensive unit, which I will talk about in just a minute. Now, starting off with the offensive side, they have a new player at quarterback, a transfer from Oregon State, Luke Del Rio, the son of Jack Del Rio, head coach in the National Football League. Luke, I believe, is a good quarterback, and he would be a great fit. Last season, they actually started off their season off great with Will Grier until he was dismissed from the team, and then they had to use Treon Harris, who wasn't really cutting it, in my opinion. He was pretty much scary every time he threw the football. I was very nervous to see where the ball would be placed when he threw the football. He was just not a good, consistent quarterback, and I think that Luke Del Rio could definitely emerge as a good starter for the Gators offense. Now, they do have the return of a couple of key players offensively, with Antonio Callaway and Brandon Powell returning as far as the receiving core. They do have a new player stepping up as the #1 running back for the team, and that is Jordan Scarlett, who's going to be replacing Kelvin Taylor, who's no longer with the team. He did rush for over 1,000 yards last season as a bruising back. Now it's time for me to head over to the defensive side. They did lose a lot of key players: John Bullard, Alex McAllister, Antonio Morrison, and 11th overall selection of this year's draft, Vernon Hargreaves. But they do have some great players returning. I'm starting with Jarrett Davis, who had 86 tackles last season. And in the defensive line, there's Brian Cox Jr., son of NFL player Brian Cox. And they actually have a first-team All-SEC performer along with Vernon Hargreaves in the secondary, Jalen Tabor. And in some people's eyes, I have been reading some people's opinion about Tabor. Some people think he's a little bit better than Hargreaves. I think they're going a little bit too far with that, but I think that Jalen is a great athlete, and I think he could become a first-round draft pick as well. He's a great player. He is a SEC first-team All-Selection. Now it's time for me to take a look at their schedule. They do have a little bit of an interesting showdown against the Tennessee Volunteers on September 24th. That early game is actually going to possibly be indications of who will represent the East Division, because the Vols is looking to finally beat Florida, but it's just going to be a scary game for both these two teams. October the 8th against LSU, that's always a great matchup. October the 29th, going to jump to that against the Georgia Bulldogs. That's another team in the East Division, where I believe the race is between Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee, so that's going to be an interesting matchup. And then the final game of the season against their arch rival and in-state rivalry, Florida State. That's going to be a great matchup for you guys to watch, just like what we saw last season. Dalvin Cook did rush for over 150 yards in that matchup. Now, for me, in my prediction, it really falls on the shoulders of Del Rio at quarterback. They need a little bit more consistency, and that's why they kind of lacked a couple of games during the season, because of the poor play at quarterback, especially when Will Grier had to be let go a little bit. So this is going to be a little bit of an interesting season. I really think if it's more of a tight race between Tennessee and Florida, between Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida. I think it's more between Tennessee and Florida, because Tennessee is looking to finally get back into the SEC championship. So I have to go with this season. I think they're going to get at least 10 wins. I think they're going to go 10-2 overall. I think they will possibly lose 2 games in the SEC competition. It really is between them and Tennessee. I will give you that announcement on a Tennessee video. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys, it will be in just a couple minutes. I have one more blog for tonight. Thank you for watching this blog. I'm your man, Keem McCall. Be easy.